Hello, and thank you for taking the time to view this video on immigration essentials for international F-1 and J-1 students. On behalf of the International Students and Scholars Office, commonly referred to as the ISSO, I would like to welcome you all to Columbia University. My name is Stacy DiMarino, and I am an International Student and Scholar Advisor at the Columbia University Irving Medical Center campus. I am also joined by my colleagues Mark and Noel, who are advisors for the Morningside and Manhattanville campuses. They will share great information on your F1 and J1 status later on in this video, including important things to keep track of during your time here. For many of you, this will be your first time coming to Columbia as international students. There are a lot of questions you may have, and there are a lot of things you need to know about visa regulations, about studying, about potentially working here in the US, and about traveling. By taking the time to watch this video, you are taking such a crucial and important step in making sure you have the tools and resources you need to be successful here as international students. So let's get started. You are joining such a large and amazing international community here at Columbia. Because of the size, Columbia has many specialized offices. These offices include the registrar, student health, your specific school and department. Also, many schools have their own career centers and social programming offices. The ISSO is one of these many specialized offices, and our specialization is immigration, as it relates to your F1 or J1 status. Columbia also has multiple campuses. We have the Morningside campus, where most of our students are located, and the new Manhattanville campus nearby. We also have the Columbia University Irving Medical Center campus, where students in our public health, medical, nursing, and dental programs study. This campus is often called CUIMC. Make sure you know which campus and ISSO location you belong to. Generally, it is where your classes take place, with the exception of some students in the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, which we also refer to as GSAS. These students take classes and may live at the Medical Center campus, but GSAS is a Morningside school. These students should click on Morningside campus to log into Compass on our website and contact the ISSO serving Morningside for any of their F1 or J1 related questions. The ISSO has a full staff of advisors ready to help you, and in addition to immigration and student visa advisement, we also provide orientations like this one. We want to make sure you have all the information you need to be successful during your studies. Now, I'm going to hand this over to Mark, who will speak more about your journey at Columbia.
Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time to watch this important video. My name is Mark Mejia. Here we have an overview of what we'll be covering today. As international students, because there is a lot to talk about, there are 3 sections in this presentation. First, things to do and be aware of today. So specifically, what applies to you after you entered the US in F1 or J1 student status. There are things to do and be aware of in the future. And finally, things to always keep in mind. So for today and now, you'll want to make sure that after you enter the US, you 1, report your arrival, 2, you register full-time, and we'll also be talking about on-campus employment. So reporting your arrival. This is the first thing you'll want to do when you enter the US. By completing this form, what you're doing is you're officially reporting your arrival in the US to both the ISSO and also to the US government. We need this report in order for us to do an important update to what's called your SEVIS record. Basically, SEVIS is the official government database that houses your information as an international student. So this information is shared across other government agencies, such as Customs and Border Protection, also the Social Security Administration. One of the things that we require when you check in is your I-94 record. So this is the official record of your arrival as entered by Customs and Border Protection. So either the person you spoke to at the airport or at the border if you drove in. There are two things you really want to look at when you pull up your I-94 record. First, you want to confirm the status in which you entered. This should be your visa status, so F1 or J1. And secondly, you'll be able to see how long you are eligible to stay in the US. This should say D/S. You should all be able to access this online. The URL is here. Of course, you can find the link on our website as well. Very rarely, but sometimes if you drove in from Mexico or Canada, they will also give you a paper I-94, and this is what it looks like to the right. Let's talk a little bit about what DS stands for. This stands for duration of status. What this means for you is that as long as you are maintaining your current status as an F1 or J1 student, you are eligible to stay in the US for the duration of your program, plus any period of authorized employment after you complete. Okay, so let's talk about registering full-time. So there are regulations for F1 and J1 students, and one of them is that you are required to maintain full-time enrollment and make normal academic progression towards the completion of your degree. So if at any time you are unsure if you're full-time enrolled, you can check what's called SSOL, stands for Student Services Online, or you can always consult with your academic department. And by making normal academic progression, what that means is that you are just completing your program in the normal amount of time that one would take in this same program. Okay, so today and now, after you enter the US in your student status, you're actually already automatically eligible for on-campus employment. On-campus employment, as you can see, is work done and paid for by a Columbia office or department. These are kinds of employment like assistantships in your department, also working at the library, working at the fitness center. On-campus employment, however, is limited to part-time during the semester, meaning you can only work up to 20 hours maximum per week during any semester period. During the vacation periods, you are eligible to work even longer than that, so up to 40 hours or more. And a nice little recap of this section. Be sure to report your arrival. You're going to want to finish your degree on time and also feel free to work on campus. Okay, so what are sort of the main topics when we look forward on your journey here at Columbia? I'm going to now guide you through off-campus employment, and then a colleague of mine will take over and talk to you about travel, changes to your program, and finish off this presentation for you all. First of all, off-campus employment. Can international students work in the US off-campus? The answer is possibly in the future. But something to very much keep in mind is that authorization must come first. It is, one, never possible to retroactively approve off-campus employment. And also, two, this is really important, the F1 and J1 visas, these are student visas, right? They're not working visas. So working off campus is possible, but it is under very specific circumstances. And unfortunately, there are quite a few restrictions in terms of what you can and can't do. Okay, first of all, let's talk about eligibility. One of the requirements of what's called elective off-campus employment is that first you need to be here in the US for a certain amount of time, maintaining your F1 student status or your J1 student status. If you are F1, you can see here, you are eligible after one academic year, which is defined as 2 full-time semesters in the US in F1 status. If you're J1, you're eligible after completing your first full-time semester. Now let's talk about the types of off-campus employment. After meeting the eligibility requirements, there are a couple things to keep in mind. If you are F1, there are 2 types of off-campus employment. The first is curricular practical training, also referred to as CPT. There's also optional practical training, referred to as OPT. If you are J1, off-campus employment is called academic training, or AT. Something I'll point out here is that for all off-campus employment, this employment must be related to your program of studying. Meaning, it's unfortunately not work authorization to be an Uber driver or work at Sephora, unfortunately. So here we are at the off-campus authorizations possible for F-1 students. The first, CPT. It's important to note that CPT fulfills a requirement or an elective towards your degree completion. Basically, this means that not all programs are CPT eligible because those program designs do not have off-campus employment as part of their sort of curriculum. If you're unsure if your program is CPT eligible, you can always check with your school or department or send an email to the ISSO. And then we have OPT, which is optional practical training. It is absolutely optional. So basically, it's not something that you have to do if you don't want to. Almost always, I do want to point out that if your program is CPT and OPT eligible, students will often almost always do CPT during their program and then use the OPT for after they complete. Something important to note as well, you are eligible for 12 months, here you can see, of OPT per degree level and specifically per higher degree level, and you can use it during your program or after. Here we are at another kind of authorization for F1 students. It's called the STEM OPT extension. Just like OPT, this is optional. And just like CPT, it doesn't apply to all programs. This will only apply to you if your degree is in the STEM field. So science, technology, engineering, or math. And basically, it allows you to work in the US and sort of continue your authorization for an additional 24 months. Now, if you are a J-1 student in J-1 status, your off-campus employment, again, is called academic training or AT. This is completely optional as well. So if you just want to complete your program and you don't want to work off campus, that is completely fine. In regards to the amount of time you are eligible to engage in AT, this is directly related to the amount of time you are in the US in J status. Keep in mind, this will max out at 18 months. And there is an additional 18 months that are granted to students at the doctoral level. And also, just like OPT, it can be used during or after your program. Here we are at the travel section. I will be passing this off to my colleague who will be continuing with the presentation.
Hello, my name is Noelle Willica, and as my colleague Mark mentioned, I am going to present to you the second half of this presentation. Let's start with travel. If you've already entered the US, then you're familiar with the travel documents that you'll need. As you continue your program here at Columbia, you'll continue to use the same 3 travel documents throughout your studies. The first document that you'll need is a valid passport, valid at least 6 months into the future. The second document that you'll need is an F-1 or J-1 student visa stamp. This visa must be valid on the date of entry into the US. Finally, the third document that you'll need is either a valid I-20 or a DS 2019, depending on your status. This document must include a valid travel signature, and travel signatures are valid for up to 12 months. The visa is such an important travel document, we're going to take a closer look at it. When entering the country, the visa needs to be valid. You're going to notice that the expiration date on the visa probably varies from that of your colleagues and classmates. Also, you're going to notice that the expiration date varies from your other government-issued documents, and all of this is okay. It's actually also okay if the visa expires while you're inside the US. The most important thing to remember is that the visa needs to be valid when entering the country. So if you travel abroad and the visa is expired, that's when you need to renew it before you can come back. And unfortunately, the visa can only be renewed outside of the US. Let's also talk about some unforeseen circumstances that may occur while you're studying at Columbia. The first one is, I have a personal medical issue and I'm not able to register full time. What do I need to do? And the answer is to contact the ISSO. It may be possible for us to help you with an authorization that allows you to drop below full-time. We're able to do this if you have the support of your academic department as well as a healthcare professional. Let's look at our next scenario. What happens if I graduate early or if I need more time to complete my program? Once again, the answer is to contact the ISSO. If you take a look at the first page of your I-20 or your DS 2019, you're going to notice a program end date. That program end date must always be accurate. So if you finish your program early or if you need more time to complete your program, you will need to work with the ISSO in order to update the program end date. And for our final scenario, what happens after I finish my program? The answer is that you enter what is called a grace period. This grace period is used just as time to prepare to depart the US. It can be used directly after a program of study, or if you're eligible and apply for an extension of your stay in the country in order to work, the grace period moves to the end of that work authorization period. The grace period for F-1 students is 60 days, and the grace period for J-1 students is 30 days. Now remember, this period of time is just to prepare to depart the country. So you're no longer allowed to work and your studies are supposed to be done. Also, you don't have to use the whole 30 or 60 days. It's okay to depart earlier. Once you depart during the grace period, the remainder of the grace period is forfeited. Let's recap the tomorrow section. First, working off campus is possible, but only under very specific circumstances and with prior work authorization. Second, you can continue to travel internationally. Just make sure that all of your travel documents are valid before re-entering. And third, life happens and unexpected things can happen during your program of study. If that happens to you, be sure to contact the ISSO. Now let's talk about a couple of things that we always want you to remember during your program of study. First is how to use the ISSO website. We want you to think of the ISSO website as your new best friend. We work with user experience designers and content strategists to give you the best possible website. And everything that you need is already there. The ISSO staff members are the ones who help to write the content on the ISSO webpage. So the advice that we give via email, during phone appointments or Zoom calls is the same information that we provide on the website. Since the website's so important, we want to take a closer look so we can show you how easy it is to navigate it.
Welcome to the ISSO website. There's no denying that in today's world, we all want answers as fast as possible. In this short video, we'll provide a quick overview of the ISSO website to show you how easy it is to use. You can trust our website to always have up-to-date and reliable information, anytime, day or night. At the top of our homepage, you will find that the website is divided into various sections. The first heading is Getting Started. This is where you applied for your I-20 or DS 2019. The other sections cover visas and travel, maintaining your status, employment, both on and off campus, and taxes. Let's say you're going abroad during the winter, spring, or summer break, and you want to know if you need a travel signature, and, if needed, how to get it. You can either use our search bar feature and search for travel signatures, or look under the Visas and Travel tab under For Students. Another example of when to use a website is if you get an on-campus job and you need to apply for a social security number. The procedure is online. Again, you can use the search bar to type SSN or Social Security number, or, since it's related to employment, you could look under the Employment tab, where it is located under For Students, Scholars, and Dependents. As you scroll down the page, you will see an overview with quick links indicating what is covered on the page. When a web page covers a procedure that involves an online application to the ISSO, it will provide a list of documents required. For example, if you are in F-1 status and obtained an on-campus job, you would simply click on the appropriate accordion. Always follow all the steps of the procedure. We don't want to overload you with information that you may not need until later in your program, but we want to show you that going to our website is the first, and maybe the last, step in getting your questions answered. If you do need to contact or visit us, our location and hours are listed on our contact page. Thank you so much for watching our website navigator. We hope that you refer back to our website often as questions arise. Remember, no matter the hour of the day, the ISSO is always here to help.
As you can see, the website's very easy to navigate, and you can access it from anywhere in the world or any time of day. There's also one of our web pages that's so important that we'd like to point it out to you right here. It is the ISSO Updates and Resources page. A bit.ly is on the slide for you to jot down so that you can easily find this page, but also it's so important that we have it linked directly on our homepage. This is just such a great go-to source for frequently asked questions, latest updates and policies, and resources for visa and travel. It's just full of current information that we want to make easily available to you. And finally, how to stay informed with the ISSO throughout your entire program of study. And the first one is via email. We will give you important updates for your visa status through something called ISSO News. We'll also be sending those emails to your Columbia email address. So every student at Columbia will be responsible for checking their Columbia email account and reading all emails from the ISSO. Also, you're welcome to attend our workshops and webinars where we cover topics including employment, taxes, and more things. And finally, you can follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. To recap the always section, remember to use and trust the ISSO website. It is updated on a regular basis by the ISSO staff members. Also, avoid problems before they happen by reading all emails from the ISSO and staying in touch with us.
Thank you for watching this video, and thank you to Mark and Noel for the wonderful overview they gave us on F1 and J-1 International Student Essentials. Remember, the ISSO is always here to assist and support you. We are happy to answer any questions you may have. When in doubt about your international student status, always know you can reach out to us. You can find the appropriate contact information for the ISSO office you need on our website. Once again, welcome to Columbia University. We are so excited to meet you.